All right, well, welcome everyone to our presentation, The Bicycle for Your Mind, Rethinking Education in an AI World. So my name is Szymon Machajewski, and I'm an Associate Director with the Learning Technology Solutions. And the presenter along with me will be Lyndon Dixon, who is our Learning Management System Administrator with focus on accessibility. Go ahead, Lyndon.
Not to step on the wires there. Let's see. Okay. I think all of us here understand how equitable access is critically important to student success. We want our students to be able to participate in our learning environments, whether that be offline or online, regardless of disability status. Across the nation, though, there seems to be a correlation between moving instruction online and the number of complaints filed by students with disabilities because of their inability to participate in the ever-changing learning environment. In fact, the Department of Education can't seem to keep up with the rise of complaints. Their Office for Civil Rights saw a 187% increase in the number of complaints received between 2008 and 2019. And recent data shows that that trend has continued. They saw their greatest number of complaints filed last year, almost 19,000. And that's coupled with the steady decline in their staffing. In 1981, the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights had nearly 1,100 full-time staff, but as of 2022, that number was just 546. I wanted to bring these metrics to your attention because there is a legal federal mandate to provide accommodations for our disabled population. This protection is granted by Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act as amended in 1998, and yet the federal government can't seem to keep up with that. So how do we help solve this problem? How can our campus strive to be more proactive? Is this something that AI can assist with? So in regards for AI for accessibility, I want to start by talking about Blackboard Ally. Now, at USC, we launched Blackboard Ally at our institution in fall 2023, and we've already seen a tremendous impact. So what is Ally? Well, Ally is a tool integrated within Blackboard that helps make your course content accessible. Ally does this by automatically checking all the files in your course for accessibility issues. Its accessibility checklist is based on Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, or WCAG. Now, WCAG is an international accessibility standard, aligning with most of the legislation and legal requirements worldwide. We're currently on 2.1AA for compliance standards with Ally. And as you may be wondering where the WCAG standards come from, you may know of Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web, the HTML markup language, the URL system, HTTP. Well, these WCAG standards come from his organization that he founded and directs, the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C. So these guidelines are the real deal. In fact, when Section 508 federal legislation was updated in 2017, it specifically calls to these WCAG standards as the industry standard. And it requires that federal agencies and those that receive federal dollars to make their electronic and information technology accessible to people with disabilities. So this is certainly a big ask that Ally is taking to cross-check with these standards. So after Ally checks your course content against the WCAG standards, Ally then does two things. It generates alternative accessible formats for students using advanced machine learning algorithms, and it provides feedback to instructors about the accessibility of their course content. So this is an example of one of our course pages. At USC, we use Blackboard, but Ally can also integrate seamlessly in many other learning management systems, including Canvas and Moodle. Once Ally is in your system, you'll notice an added indicator next to all the course files within the course, and that's that A icon that you see to the right of every file. Now, when students click on this indicator, they'll be presented with an alternative formats menu. They choose an option, and Ally will AI generate the file, and here are some example formats of that. Now, these alternative formats provide students with an immediate, more accessible starting point. No action is required by the instructor. It truly is automatic and does not change or interrupt any existing workflows. And as Nicole's presentation earlier stated, that there was a study by that National Center for Education Statistics that found that a majority of college students do not inform their college of their disability. And so by automatically providing alternative formats for these students, we are really helping to service that underrepresented population. But with that said, we're also helping everyone else too. For example, at UIC, we're a commuter school. We have students commuting from all over the city as well as Chicago's suburbs. It's not uncommon to have an hour more commute, and what better way to give them a head start than by listening to an MP3 version of their required readings. Or perhaps we note that we also serve a diverse group of students, many of whom have a different mother tongue than English. And for that demographic, we can have Ally generate them a translated version so that they may better understand the content in their native language. And statistically, we're really seeing the benefits. Since fall of 2023, we've had over 74,000 alternative format downloads from over 15,000 total unique users and over 4,000 total courses. Now, moving on from Ally's alternative formats, I want to introduce Ally's instructor feedback. Now, it's great with alternative formats that Ally has an impact without the instructor changing a thing, but we also want to be forward thinking and have course content be more accessible to begin with. It is for that reason that Ally provides instructor feedback. Ally, for each file, tells instructors what the accessibility issues are, explains how these issues affect inclusive learning, describes steps on how to fix these issues, and provides an easy upload for the soon-to-be corrected version. Ally gamifies instructor feedback by providing an accessibility score. Red means bad, green means good, and you want to try to be good. However, perhaps playing red light, green light isn't always enough of a motivator for instructors to actually publish changes. For example, since fall of 2023, we've had over 6,000 instructor feedback launches with over 2,000 total fixes, which is great, but that's only about a 34% conversion rate. So what's causing 2/3 of our instructors to bail out without making any changes? Probably the fact that despite the detailed steps Ally provides on how to fix these issues, it does require some form of effort. For example, one of our most common issues is images that have missing text descriptions. And perhaps if you're an instructor or an assistant to an instructor, writing detailed descriptions for all of your images may seem like a lot of work. So how do we get that conversion rate higher? Let's look at other ways we can use AI to improve the Ally workflow. I would like you all to consider the use of Microsoft Bing.com/chat, which is now AI powered with Copilot. You can also go to copilot.microsoft.com, log in with your UIC account. I quite like this because it is readily available, and it also has the option to protect your personal and company data. Using this chat, you can upload an image, ask for a description, avoiding the need to manually write one yourself. Should you like the description, you can simply copy and paste this back into Ally, giving you easy green lights. Perhaps you don't need full descriptions for your images. You can, of course, tailor your searches. Here's an example of asking for alt text specifically. Again, we're really just getting the ball rolling with Ally going into our second semester using the tool, but perhaps by incorporating additional AI-assisted workflows, such as Copilot, we hope to see a higher conversion rate among our instructors that are open to student or instructor feedback. And this leads us to additional possibilities. What else is out there? What are the demands of our students in the accessibility space? How can AI help? Well, one example I'd like to share is equitable. It's a tool that helps make training videos more accessible for the visually impaired. Students themselves with disabilities wrote this program as a submission for a recent Microsoft AI Classroom hackathon. They won honorable mention. Powered by Microsoft Azure, Equidu lets people easily incorporate AI-generated audio descriptions into their videos so that the visually impaired can follow along. Imagine you're watching a video of me simply walking on stage to give a presentation. There's no audio cue of this video to tell the visually impaired viewer what's going on. What Equidu can do for you is understand when audio cues are needed, strategically pause the video at those locations, give an audio cue such as "man with glasses is walking towards a stage," unpause the video, and continue onwards until a new audio description is needed. Speaking of, have you ever used a screen reader before? As you may know, screen readers are software applications that attempt to convey what people with normal eyesight see on a display to their users via non-visual means, such as text-to-speech. One such screen reader is NVDA. NVDA is a popular screen reader on Windows, and in the past year, there's been a tremendous amount of work in the community to develop AI-based add-ons to improve NVDA's functionality. I would like to share 2 example add-ons with you. The first is AI Content Describer for NVDA, written by accessibility consultant and software developer Carter Tem. This add-on makes it possible to obtain detailed descriptions for images and other visually inaccessible content. Until recently, there's been an unwavering reliance on content authors providing alternative text descriptions. And while this is still a must, it's difficult to change the fact that a high standard of quality happens to be the exception, not the rule. This add-on, when prompted, will AI generate a better description in those cases. In this example image, we have a screen reader user focusing on the Google image. The alt text description reads, "Graphic, seasonal holidays, 2023. Let's compare this to the AI description. The image is a Google logo with a holiday theme. The letters are decorated with colorful lights and ornaments. The background is white." Not bad. Although the text-to-speech voice sounds a little bit robotic, but there's an add-on for that too. Hyper Neural Voices for NVDA is a fast local neural text-to-speech system that provides the user with options that sound much more human than robotic, which can lead to a stark difference in the user's ability to concentrate and comprehend what is actually being spoken to by the screen reader. It's certainly an exciting time for AI accessibility technology, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I hope you are too. And I can't wait to see where that takes us. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to Simon.
Thank you, Landon. So Landon does the hard work of accessibility, and I'll do the fun part. I'll show you how charts can be made accessible, and then I'll tell you the future of artificial intelligence. So, set the bar really high. So when we look at AI today, it really fits into accessibility well. And it does so because it can do text-to-speech. It's been doing that for years. If you think about auto-captioning, that was AI already, right? And we know that it benefits not just people with disabilities, but everyone, right? When you need to see something without hearing it, you just have captions and that works. Or audiobooks, right? Another technology that was developed for people with disabilities, and everyone benefits today. So we'll talk for a moment about text simplification and summarization, how that can help, not just with visual difficulties, but also with better understanding of content. So one of our projects is learning analytics. And one of the challenges is that graphs look really aesthetically pleasing, but it's sometimes difficult to communicate through graphs. Like, what does this really mean, right? So you look at something and you might ask yourself, well, what do I really learn from this? And you have to have a couple of skills. First, good sight, right? To see the numbers and to be able to match labels. You also need to have some data literacy skills to see and understand what's in the graph. So let's see how generative AI can help here. We've done kind of the geeky stuff where we connected to Azure AI, and Kunal Shah, our in-house developer, did this very well. He was just hired yesterday, so I tell you, he did a lot of work since then. But of course, Azure AI is a great system. You can control it well, but then you also have to pay for it, right, as the provider, because you become the vendor, basically. So there are a lot of responsibilities that go along with this technology. And when I said geeky, I really meant it, right? So on the right is the prompt that's sent behind the scenes to Azure. And so that includes at the very top, there's an explanation. I'm an instructor at UIC. This is the data. And then you can ask, okay, what insights do you have about the chart? And AI goes through the data for you. It makes sense of it, and then it spits out what it feels are the insights from the current data. And then you can go into more detail. How do the submission rates vary between weekdays and weekends? And then it provides the dates and the specific findings. So this is kind of the hard way of doing things. And one of the limitations is that right now in Azure, we have GPT 3.5 enabled, which of course is history as far as we're concerned today, right? So how do we make charts accessible that doesn't require a developer to always kind of upgrading and spinning the wheels? Although this probably is what we will do in the future with a lot of our services. Instead of us engineering the prompts, we will have a button, right? And you've seen that in earlier presentation with Brian Libin and Cheryl McCarran, who were showing in Blackboard Learn, you just have a button that you press. You don't actually construct the prompt. It's a little bit like going from the DOS days, right, into Windows, where you clicked on buttons and things were discoverable. You simply were able to learn things very quickly because they were already in a UI. So another approach we've taken, one that was free and that took advantage of a lot of other innovations, was we created a data feed. So that URL on the second line of the prompt, that URL always has current data in it. And then we asked, in this instance, Perplexity, which is a very innovative chatbot, we asked it, what do you see in this data? What are the insights? And because you can share a link to a Perplexity conversation, we can include this as a simple link in our charts. So you look at a live chart, then you click on this link, and you're in Perplexity. And here it, of course, explained, here are the peak days, here are the low submission dates. And what I love about it is that it has follow-up questions that it suggests for you. And also, the deeper you get to the discussion, the more data it'll draw from the outside context, and it'll provide sources for it, right? So a lot of the difficulties with other chatbots is that we don't know how they know things. Well, here, this one actually shows you where it found the references. So Perplexity can be very effective for instructors to share with students who can then go to the source and then follow up on their research. So having kind of a live data URL, and that URL has the data in form of a table, but also we included metadata, so information about what it is that the AI needs to pay attention to. Yet another way, and perhaps the best way that we found so far is quite simple, and that is, here we have the standard approach to explanation. We just write text about it. We have paragraphs to read and understand. And then we tested a number of agents. We did tests with Hugging Face and other school AI and other systems. But the last one, just copy prompt. And you click on this button, and in your clipboard, you will end up with the data for the graph and the prompt. So then it's up to you where you would like to take this explanation. And if you have a favorite AI, you go ahead and do that. We went with Claude AI, which just got an upgrade. Claude 3 is supposed to be great, and it is. It actually provided much deeper insights than any of the other AI that we worked with. And you can see that it accepts copied content, and we can continue our conversation within the context of the data. So this way we are overcoming not just the visual difficulties, but also the cognitive difficulties or strain that looking at data and trying to figure out what it really means can cause. So with that, I want to take you just for a little detour that where we are today, it didn't happen overnight, right? That the history of AI is quite long. And an interesting maybe point would be when AI beat Kasparov, a chess player in '97. In that moment, the community of chess realized that chess is done. right? AI basically will win every time, and it does. Today, there's not a human being that can win with AI. In a way, looking closer at what happened to chess as an industry, because this happened a couple of decades before, shows us where we will be about 10 years from now. Now, where we are with chess today, well, what is very interesting is that even though chess AI can beat everybody on Earth, we also have the ability to lower the intelligence of chess so that if you are brand new to chess, you can play someone at your level. Now, that's a huge innovation and maybe an opposite way of thinking about AI, because you don't want to play the stockfish, the smartest, chess all the time. It's not fun, right? You get beaten every 10 moves. But because chess.com and other systems were able to create bots that are at our level, whatever the level it is, chess was fun for people. And in fact, today, a lot of people play chess. Now, one way to look at it is through research. And to anyone who studied education, you'll be familiar with Vygotsky. The idea that we need to find the zone of proximal development in order to learn, right? You don't want tasks to be too easy, and you don't want them to be too difficult, right? You're bored or you're anxious about things. Later, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi also talks about the flow, which is a very similar idea that if you find the right path between difficulty and ease, you are going to have fun while learning. And this is, I think, where the AI in chess lesson is, that because we can lower the AI intelligence, we can help people find the flow. And that also applies to data analytics, in that we find where people left off and how to explain to them the next graph. And you always can add to the prompt, explain it to me like I'm 12, right? Which apparently is a very popular Reddit, as Landon explained it to me, right? So explain to me like I'm 12, only now it's available to everyone. So this finding, this ability, not just to develop the smartest AI, but to be able to lower the intelligence of AI, to onboard more people into the industry of chess, really is played out today in the community. Maybe you're aware of Queen's Gambit on Netflix. At that point, chess was already living its own life. For Netflix to pick up a theme, it has to be popular. And then, of course, we had all kinds of events, including the pandemic, which got all board games, but including chess, got them very popular. Today, chess is practiced by more people than ever before. And it's kind of interesting because in the past, the Soviet Union and the US, they used chess as kind of a weapons, right? And so a lot of people played chess even back then. But today the game is extremely popular, and people like Kaspersky, who in '97 might have thought, that's it, I have to learn a new skill, right? Today they are activists, in fact, for all kinds of activities. So this thinking about AI as a friend, as something that can open up our industries, right? If we can help students be in the zone of proximal development more, we might onboard more people to the subject matter that we are actually interested in. And of course, Microsoft is investing in AI and into accessibility. Tremendous progress that we see there, because they have the power to sponsor also the hardware tools. Imagine, glasses where you get live captioning as you speak with someone, right? These tools are already in development and in use. But just beautiful story from Microsoft of taking AI as one of the early projects for accessibility. Now, this is one of my favorite pictures when we talk about accessibility, but also equity. You have this game of baseball in the background, and people kind of watching the game. And of course, with the idea that equity exists when people get what they need. Now, with AI, it's actually a little bit of a different story in that AI does not have a hardware limitation, right? It is more like it is out there, and in 22, OpenAI made it free. It's not like it didn't exist before; it just was expensive. Now it's free, so it's for us really to find the uses for it and to make sure that people get what they need. But this is also an interesting point from data analytics perspective, because when you look at graphs, oftentimes the peak of the graph can differentiate, can show the differences. But the question is, once the bars get really, really tall on a graph, does it really matter how different they're at the very top? You see, if you say that there was an election and 10 people voted, more people voted for something than the other topic, what's really important to know is, was it 1,010 or was it 1 plus 10? So the peak of the graph is only very important at low numbers. And what we're saying is that there's going to be plenty of AI to get these folks at such levels that it actually won't make a difference, their height as it started. So because there's such power in AI, I think the future of education is really bright, because it is the onboarding people that was proven in chess to be such a success. Well, that's our presentation, and we would entertain any questions that you might have about our work or what we're talking about. Thank you. Yes, question.
I'm curious about what your plans are doing as far as kind of packaging this, leveraging AI for accessibility and education for professors, TAs, people that might not have the time to develop the expertise in leveraging.
I think that's a great question, and kind of reverting back to something that Landon was talking about, and integrating AI right into the learning management system, right? So the learning management system is where instructors meet students, and we have an easy onboarding to put your syllabus, to create quizzes, to equip any course, be that in class or online course. And this is where, for example, LI is present already, right? So we meet students where they are, and we meet instructors where they are. More than that, the alternative formats are available to students even if instructors did nothing at all, right? So we meet students there. But when it comes to additional kind of accessibility literacy, we continue to work with instructors on these. One of the other projects that we do is we advise Anthology on their products. And one of an early suggestions that we had, and I think Brian Libin was one that kind of talked about it a lot, was automated image descriptions. And so LI is adding that into their product. So in the past, LI would say, in this view, it would say, hey, you need an image description. Well, now it'll have a draft ready for the instructor. So we work with the vendors to kind of put pressure, give them ideas, and then where possible, we also meet in the LMS with instruction students with new ideas. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Gemma.
Gemma, I have a technical question. When you show the different model of AI, the content mirroring and focus AI, so you show the model that you use to have an output, and you feed the data, and you got an outcome that people can easily understand, and also you can use as a description for the data. But when you go through the other model, and I was wondering what is the outcome of the model or goal of using that specific model, and how that gives implication for the using AI adoption for the goal that is set.
Excellent. So all three methods that we've used here communicate the same data to AI. They use different methods. Right here, this is all done behind the scenes. So this is what the user sees. The other model carries or receives data via this URL. So unlike ChatGPT, where it cannot see the internet and it only does what it already knows, Perplexity is able to consume a URL like provided there in the prompt, and right here it includes it in its sources. So it's the same data as in the previous example, only now it's fed actually by the. So we prepared the prompt, and the user receives the prompt under a button click. So at this point, the user hasn't touched the keyboard yet at all, right? But the data is carried through the URL. In the last example, the data is carried under this button here. So when you click on the button, the clipboard is filled with all the data and the prompt. So all you have to do is paste it, and at the very top here in Claude, it puts a little file, that's the paste. But if we were to use ChatGPT, you would actually see all the data in the prompt. So the data is present in all three methods. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I think prompt engineering, which is a difficult statement, we don't really engineer the prompt. Prompt engineering is about improving performance of the prompts, more like prompt crafting or designing prompts. That skill will probably be less important in the future. We'll see more and more buttons and again, UI for that. Brian.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to say that answer both questions here. I think understanding context. So Simon's team was kind of given a little bit of an assignment to play with, which was really experimenting with the idea that within our learning management system, within academic technology, there is a lot of data access to. And his team has developed many dashboards around that data. But faculty don't necessarily understand how to use them, what to do with that data. And so Simon and his team are exploring using AI as one option. We've also talked about machine language or even just creating prompts that will educate faculty and staff and even students on how to understand the data in these systems, what they could potentially do with it in order to improve their course or in order to better align their learning objectives with their assessments, in order to do better on quizzes or discussions. And so it's an interesting, I guess, question that the team is grappling with, which is, you know, and so Simon provided 3 different samples in which they have been experimenting with, but how do we educate people? Because I think Matt had said in his speech earlier that one of the things we want to start using is data and metrics to inform us. But we can only be as informed as our education allows. And as Simon and Langdon have done so eloquently, really shared how AI can bring this down to a level where we can continue to grow and understand what to do with this. And so I wanted to provide that context of what they've been working on. And they're still not done, and they're going to keep working on it until it's something that can be released to the entire university.
So our wish for all of you is to be as successful as chess is. And last year, the most popular image on Twitter was Lionel Messi, who is a soccer player, and Cristiano Ronaldo playing chess. Yeah. Do you have a question? Go ahead.
When it comes to things like the automatic conversion, is there any quality testing? Like, how well do they come out? I'm a screen reader user myself, and sometimes when I try to convert things where things aren't reading in kind of a logical way that it should. So I wonder if there's any feedback from people actually. The same could be true of like, even when you talk about the automatic AI description, coming out makes sense level, you know, where rather than like describing everything that's there, focusing it in a way that is most efficient. Sorry, 2 questions.
No, great question. And I think that's a concern we've had for a while, especially around auto captioning, right? So we know that auto captioning doesn't meet, for example, the ADA requirement for this very reason that as you start reading it, it kind of looks, you realize that the machine did that. So two thoughts. One, I think that as investment now exists and it starts at the hardware level, NVIDIA is doing a lot better, a lot more cash flow. not just gamers, right? But also Bitcoin and now AI. So as their products become more available and less expensive to other companies, I think that auto captioning is going to get more accurate, right? Because just like that, there's a difference between Chat 3.5 GPT and 4 and future ones. So I think that in general, we'll see improvements in the technology. But the reason why we did not develop this in-house, but we engage with a vendor, is that this quality has to be tested by hundreds, not just, I mean, we can spot check things, right? And so right now, LI is one of the most successful products in the LMS space. D2L, Canvas, all these systems are using it. So many of the conversions are very much formatting. So if you go, for example, from say HTML, and then you go into the Beeline reader, right, which is a beautiful system that helps people read fast, but also do all kinds of things with text. You don't actually have to do a lot of reimagining or thinking about the content as in the ideas in the content, right? You just take the text and reformat it. Others, like going from text into audio, certainly there's AI that's going to get involved, but the reading of text is also a fairly reliable technology. So there are some areas where, say, the OCR parts, right? You have a picture PDF, and now give me text. This has gotten a lot better in general, right? Because again, the technology got some investment, and we're quite proud of being able to provide that as a free service instead of having to buy Adobe Pro and then so forth. So I would say that the fact that we've gotten involved with a major player in this space, and they have thousands of clients, large like us, who have thousands of students, so that if there are improvements that need to be made, they are reported and then worked into the system. But certainly more spot checking makes sense. And we hope that we can have as good a relationship with them as we do now, where some of our suggestions for functionality improvements are accepted. But we would love to work with you to, again, do some spot checking, especially around the formats that we would have more of the AI involvement. This technology existed for the last 10 years or so. So LI is not a brand new product. And most of the changes they introduced is formatting, not necessarily the content, if that helps. So they don't go from a picture to text, right? But they go from one kind of text maybe to the electronic braille, right? And so these conversions are fairly reliable because they no longer have to think about the content, they just convert the formats.
If you've gone to any of the other presentations today regarding generative AI, many of them focused on the importance of how to develop a good enough prompt to get the information you need. And so in some aspects, to more directly answer your question, that there is going to be a significant need for the source material to be good enough to work with. If you give Ally an untagged PDF, it cannot magically tag it to such perfect structure that didn't exist to begin with. And so I think that's why with Ally, as more of a proactive approach to things, gives you instructor feedback as well. It says, hey, this is the base file. This is what we can do to give students more accessible formats without you doing anything. But by the way, instructor, hey, this file, it's got like an accessibility score of like 2%. It's red. It needs help. Click on this. Here's some, instructions on how you can go about fixing it. If it was something like an untagged PDF, it may say, hey, do you have the source file from where this PDF comes from? Do like a Word document, something like that. And then if you do, go into Word, here's how you can start making that untagged document tag and how to do it appropriately. Gives you a button to re-upload the file once you've made those changes, and you can see your score go up. And so it's sort of a two-pronged approach where, yes, the material is only as good as what the source that is provided can be, but regardless of you uploading with the more appropriate source material, here's something a little better for you, that your whatever format you go with, it gives benefit to students where the benefit doesn't exist to begin with. So it's good for that purpose. But I do think primarily when you look at the Ally workflow, Ally specifically is a more proactive tool than anything. So we cannot fully depend on the accessible formats that Ally spits out for the students and say, hey, our work as a university is completely done. We're good to go. We don't need anything else. So that's not the case at all. Ally provides the instructor next steps. Hopefully it gives them more engaged. Hopefully it says, okay, let me see what I can do myself. It'll check against Ally, which in itself is a check against WCAG. And it says, okay, well, this is the best I can do. Maybe it's still yellow light or something like that. Let me go see an expert on campus and see what I can do to make this file more accessible for my course going forward. And hopefully, what this will do for you is it will allow the instructor to know that they need to remediate their content and have them do it before a time where it is needed.
Thank you very much, and sorry to keep you 10 minutes longer than expected, but it was great to talk to you.